Hello and welcome. Andy Bryan here again from the Soul Pathway. And today within this video, I wanted to speak with you about your shadow. As recently I came across a post on Facebook which spoke about our shadow in relation to psychology and religion, perpetuating fear, shame and guilt. And whilst I believe that to be true to some degree, I believe there is much truth held in the shadow, if only we allow ourselves to explore it and uncover what is hidden beneath the surface so that we can heal, so that we can become at one with ourselves and love who we are. There is much truth in our shadow that has to be revealed, to be healed and to be reintegrated. And within this video, I wanted to speak with you all about that. So, in relation to myself, I'm not a religious man. I'm very spiritual in my beliefs and the way that I live my life. In many ways, when I look at religion, and no matter what religion this is, there is much beauty in religion. There is much truth in religion as well, in all the different beliefs and faiths. And yet, in many ways, there is also a lot of conditioning and indoctrination in religion as well, which can cause us to feel that shame, that guilt, and even that fear. And I remembered sharing a post a couple of years ago about the act of sinning, because each and every one of us are humans. We go through this human experiences. We have good experiences and we have bad experiences. Often we try to act with our best of intentions, and sometimes we act out of our own wounds and we can cause harm on other people without realizing it, physical, emotional and even spiritual, whether that's to a low degree or even a high degree. And when we think about that act of sinning, you could say that we have all sinned on one another at times, and we've even placed a sin on ourselves. And this, in many ways, relates to our shadow and what we're going through and perpetuating that fear, that guilt and that shame. Because when you think about sinning, you can think about the fact that religion says that you have sinned upon yourself and others, and you should hold that guilt and shame, for a lifetime. And yet the most important thing that we have to do for ourselves is learn to forgive ourselves, learn to love ourselves. And I created a video recently about the fact that all healing comes back to love and forgiveness. At least that is what I believe. So when it comes to the process of sinning, when we forgive ourselves for our actions, and we learn to love ourselves for who we are, then we can move forward with much more grace, much more ease. We can let go of this fear, shame and guilt that is placed upon to us in relation to our shadow. But what is our shadow? And that is the most important thing when it comes to psychology. Because Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud spoke about the ego as a superego in Eve and the shadow. And the ego is supposedly our conditioning and our mindset from the society in which we live and the culture in which we were brought up in, even values and belief passed on to us by our parents. And I've spoken about that many, many times in different videos. Now, it's said that our shadow is our suppressed emotions and experiences that have been repressed from experiences from our past and from those traumas that we've experienced, whether they're through our childhood or whether they're through other traumatic experiences where we have experience some form of abuse. Now, what tends to happen when we go through these experiences is that our emotions and our feelings become repressed within us. And I learned this through hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So when they become repressed within us, they become a part of our shadow. And this is very, very real. And when they become a part of our shadow, this is when we have, forms of PTSD, anxiety, fear, and other forms of emotion. Even anger comes from suppressed emotions within us, where we haven't revealed or healed inner child wounds. And it's essential for us to look on that. But from a psychological aspect, I don't think it's a part of shame or guilt and even fear that we're placing upon ourselves. I believe it's essential for us to understand what it is that is coming up from within us in relation to our shadow, so we can be truly honest with our shadow and what we're experiencing, so that we can allow these emotions, these experiences and these feelings to come to the surface in order to heal. Because healing is what is essential here. Because this is all about wholeness. This is all about really stepping into who you truly are. Because what we tend to do when we deny our shadow, when we repress our shadow, is we cause more pain, more shame, more fear, and more guilt. And for me, that is not what we want. Often we live life through autopilot, where we're living through conditions and expectations of society or projections that have been placed upon to us about how other people believe that we should live. And that's not really who we are. Often what we're doing when we live our lives that way is, you could say, denying our shadow, because we're fearful of embracing our own journey, our own soul pathway, our own inner truth. And that is what is essential and important. But for me, when I talk about the shadow, I think it's essential that we don't deny it, because to deny it is to bring about more pain. So if we can be honest and truthful about what it is that is coming up for us, then we can look at it with a clean set of eyes. We can say, this has happened to us, and it's happened for us. How can we learn to move through that experience so that we're not looking back on it and bringing up more pain, more fear, and that guilt that may be coming up for us? Let's say, for example, we've had extreme abuse in our childhood. And I know through my own family dynamics that people in my family have gone through extreme abuse in childhood. And it's very, very sad to see and experience. Because what I've noticed within their relationships is that they place a lot of shame and guilt on themselves for the experiences they've gone through, which cause them to feel a lack of self-esteem and a real lack of self-worth, which doesn't serve anybody. And yet what has happened is those childhood traumas, experiences and memories are really hidden, really in the depth of the shadow. And that guilt and that shame is present within them because they haven't allowed themselves to acknowledge what that shadow is, in order for them to love themselves once more and not feel this lack of self-worth, self-esteem. So for me, there are aspects of the fact that psychology and religion can perpetuate this fear, but in all honesty, we've got to really connect with the emotions and traumas that are held within us so that we can be much more happy, content and fulfilled within our lives, so that we are living life in authenticity to who we are, living life in alignment with our soul, and being much more enriched in our experiences, and really living life in the moment, feeling that pure sense of bliss. Because once we allow ourselves to connect with that, we realize that there is so much joy in each and every experience. We don't need to hold on to these negative emotions of shame, fear and guilt, because we know that they're not serving us, but neither is our shadow. But we have to be honest with our shadow and allow those shadow aspects to come to light. And for me, we have to notice the polarities within ourselves. The yin and the yang, the light and the darkness exists within all of us. And that's the beauty of life. And in many ways, what I've got is this beautiful pendant that was created for me quite a while ago now. But I asked them to create it for me because it represented what I believe to be true. And I'm not sure if you can see what is on that, but it has the yin and the yang. And within the darkness, there is light. So there is light in the darkness. And within the light, there is also darkness as well. So if we can allow ourselves to connect with all of that within, then we can find joy in each and every experience and learn from each and every experience. And know that there is also, on the other side, there is nothing. But what is that? That is the wholeness that is everything. The wholeness and the integrity of who we are. The unity of our mind, body and soul. Our ego, our self and our shadow. To create our soul as an individual. So for me, that is what the shadow aspects is all about. Learning to come into a place of wholeness within and unification so that we can live in alignment with our soul. So thank you for listening. I hope you have found this to be valuable and useful as you go about your spiritual journey and soul pathway. If you would like any personal support, then I would love to assist you. I provide self-love sessions to help you disconnect from conditions and patterns that have been placed onto you in relation to love, so that you can truly let go of those conditional beliefs that you hold about love and place on to your love and your partnerships, so that you can love yourself and attract a beautiful and amazing soulmate into your life. I've also got soulful mentoring sessions where we dive deep into your soul. We help you break free from general conditioning and what is coming up from you. We also help you heal from those shadow aspects so that you can become at one with yourself, so that you can feel much more free and content within your life. You can find out more about that on my website. All the links are below this video. If you have any questions or comments, so please leave them below. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again on another video very soon. Bye for now.